Hey everyone, Steve Buller here. Welcome back to another lesson. Today we're going to talk about Seinfeld emails. Now, this lesson should come after the one on the soap opera sequence, which that's about developing your initial relationship with your subscribers and engaging them and getting them interested in what you have to say. Once you have them interested in what you have to say, this is about how do you send them an email anytime about anything, keep them engaged, add value, and sell. Okay? That's what we're going to be covering today. These are the Seinfeld emails. Ready? Let's jump right in. So, first of all, why are these called Seinfeld emails? If you've ever seen the show Seinfeld, it's supposed to be a show about nothing. The characters are just going through, quote, everyday life, right? And yet the show is hilarious and extremely successful. One of the main reasons for this is that the show is full of attractive characters. Now, we put quotes around that because they may not be attractive in the traditional sense, but you like them for some reason. One reason or another, you like them. Even George. So Seinfeld took those attractive characters, put them in seemingly normal situations, and made it entertaining. And that's the key point. People want entertainment. If you're reaching out to someone via email, they don't want to be sold, and they don't even necessarily want to learn anything. They want entertainment. So we give it to them through an email about nothing. We take everyday stuff that happens to us, share it in an entertaining way, and at the very end of the process, we kind of, offhand mention a product. So, since we're dealing with Seinfeld, we have to take a look at a quote from him. I am so busy doing nothing that the idea of doing anything, which as you know always leads to something, cuts into the nothing and then forces me to have to drop anything. Okay, by the way, notice that I put quotes in almost all of my lessons. You're already here watching this lesson with the intent of learning, or at least that's the assumption I'm making. But I still want to make it a little entertaining, so I keep your attention, and that's one thing that quotes do. The other is they create an association between me and someone great, which never hurts. This quote, by the way, read it a few times when you get the chance. It's pretty hilarious how Seinfeld twists all these ideas. He's a brilliant comedian. Okay, now, I understand that telling you to write an email about nothing isn't terribly helpful. So let's look at the structure of one of these emails. The email should be 90% entertainment, or at least the vast majority of it. So whatever you've decided to talk about, focus the majority of the email describing the story that you experienced. Humans are programmed to follow stories, like we learned in the soap opera sequence lesson. So just write about what happened. Paint your character into the story, add in some emotion, and it'll be entertaining. The daily stuff that happens. This is all that stand-up comedians do, by the way, is they talk about the stuff that happens, and they just learn how to deliver it in a good way. That's funny. Okay, so that's 90%. That is the bulk of your email. 9% of your email can be content. This is where you somehow connect the entertaining story to something you learned and want to pass on. This is the education part of the email, and it's where you add a little value to the person's life. And finally, only 1% of the email should be sales. People don't like to be sold in general, but if you've just entertained and educated them, they understand that you have a business, and businesses make money by selling. So they're going to be much more receptive to it at this point. Okay, so don't take these percentages literally. I'm sure you're not, but I just want to say that the concept here, right, is focus the majority of it on entertainment, sprinkle in a little content so that they learn and you're educating and adding value. And then at the very end usually is when you just put in a little bit about sales. Now you might be saying, okay, I understand the breakdown of the material I write in this email, but how do I do it? So let's draw it out really quick, and then, I like to see the big picture of things, and then I'll go over an example or two. But first, I'll say that you can write these emails in whatever way makes sense on a case-by-case basis. Whatever you're writing about that day, do what makes sense. As long as you keep in mind the general 99-1 rule, you'll be good. That being said, I think it's best and easiest to just flow from one right into the next. Okay? So let's bring in a little thing we can draw on here. And let's draw a little, here's your page. Here's your email. Okay? Like I said, the bulk of it should be the entertainment. So we'll call this the story. Right? And that's most of your email. Then you lead that into some kind of lesson that you learned from the story, right? And then at the very bottom, put something in there that leads into sales. So, story is something like, the other day I was ... Right? Doesn't really matter what it was, just you tell an entertaining story. At the end of the story, you say something to the effect of, and I realized that ... little lesson, right? You just hook back to the product at the end by quickly saying, oh, by the way, that's why we ... or by the way, that's what I'm doing with this, or by the way, whatever it is, you're just kind of looping it in right at the very end. Okay? So that's the big picture. Now, why don't we take a look at one of my examples? Okay, I really like this one because it's a childhood. Now, keep in mind, this one is, kind of a childhood memory. And really, if you want to be sending these out regularly, you're going to need to be pulling from more recent stuff. But you can dig out of your past as much as you want to. There might be some effective ones in there. So this one, I start with something just kind of attention grabbing. I say, what is an investor? Well, I've got a pretty funny story about when I was a kid and what is not an investor. So let's start with that. Charlie Munger calls this inversion thinking. That's a little education, I guess. Let's learn what not to do. When I was about 10, my brother and I and a bunch of friends were into comic books. Well, one of my buddies told me how much an issue of Superman #1 was worth. I don't remember the exact number then, but know what it's worth today? $3 million. By the way, notice how in general my paragraphs here are pretty short, right? I'm keeping things moving. Yeah, that's a lot of money for a comic book. Well, this planted a seed in my head, so for my birthday that year, I asked my mom for Spawn #1. Put yourself in my shoes. I had just learned this information, and there just happened to be a completely new superhero coming out with a comic. It felt like fate. I mean, this is kind of entertaining, right? My mom asked me if I was sure I wanted to spend basically all my birthday money on it. It was about $30. And a little annoyed with her, I educated her that it would soon be worth much more than that. I'll never forget what she told me. A thing is worth only as much as someone will pay for it. So in other words, you need a buyer for anything to be worth anything. Now, this isn't like a tree falling in the forest with no one around. This is tangible. There must be a market for what you're selling. And this taught me a lot about business and what a real investor is. So here you can see I'm kind of leading it into a little more education. Some kind of lesson that I can hopefully add a little value to my customers. A good investor can see something that has value today and will have even more value tomorrow. One of the best ways to do this is to find a market of people, ask them what they want, and then build a business around that demand. This is exciting because the knowledge business that I now run and that I'm helping other people start for themselves is investing in two ways. So notice I'm already kind of leading into the sales. It's not quite salesy yet, but you can tell I'm going there. 1, you're building a business that provides value to others, so as you invest in it, it will be worth more and more. And 2, as Warren Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn. Investing in your own brain will always be worth it. I truly believe that, by the way. So if you're interested in learning how you can invest in yourself and build your own business in an area you can get excited about without quitting your job yet, come check out the Start to Success formula. Okay, right at the end, loop it in, and I basically say, hey, you know this super entertaining story I just told you and the lesson I learned from it? Well, here's what you should do about it. And people are very receptive to this, right? You've already developed a relationship, they like you, and now you're telling a story and sharing a lesson with them. They're going to be pretty receptive to it. All right, I hope that all makes sense. Now, let's get into some pro tips. First, try to avoid subjects like politics and religion. It's okay to talk about them as long as you're not polarizing your audience. Now, I can hear you right now saying, but Steve, you always say that polarization is okay because you want to find the people who really like you. That is correct, I agree entirely, but you want to polarize on subjects that are relevant to your business and your customers. In general, politics and religion are not. And I'm sure there's some other very hairy subjects that we can avoid too. If it is relevant to your business, if your knowledge business is about religion or politics or anything else, then you are correct. This is exactly what you should be talking about, and you should be polarizing on it. But just keep in mind that the point of polarization is to find people who will benefit the most from your product and who are most likely to become customers. Okay? Next, keep your paragraphs short. I said this in the soap opera sequence lesson as well. This is important. These emails are supposed to be exciting and entertaining, and we need to hold our audience's attention. Okay? Finally, and here is a biggie. Every single one of these emails that you write can be leveraged on your blog or even some other kind of content creation. But if you keep a blog, which is just one easier way to get some organic growth and organic search and all that, just copy and paste it, and you have more content with a link back to your product. Alrighty then, and that's the Seinfeld email template. So let's do a quick review. First and foremost, we entertain. This is 90% of the email, and we tell a story. Second, we add value with some content. This is 9%, and we teach a lesson. Lastly, we sell. This is the final 1%, and we lead back to our product. Okay, I hope that all sinks in. So, remember, your list is one of, if not the most valuable assets in your business. You own this list of people who have already signed up for something free, or they know about you and you've already walked them through the soap opera sequence to get them to like you and be interested in you. This list you can write to anytime, and chances that they'll open the email are better than not, really. They're pretty good. So you want to write to them, and here's an important part to remember. In marketing, in advertising, frequency is really important. So you want to be, your customer wants to see you, hear from you, whatever, frequently enough. What the exact right number of that is not easy. But I'm just saying you should be encouraged and empowered to write to them on a regular basis. Entertain them, keep them at least a little bit educated, add some value. They can perceive that. And then you can sell at any time, okay? When you have a new product launch, when something just happened that was interesting and you want to write to them and get more people in a program, whatever it is, okay? So do not underestimate the power of this template. Use it, write to your list, and make some sales. All right, I hope that all sounds great, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.